Thomas.
Yeah.
Johan, how are you doing?
I couldn't be better. Thank you.
I just learned something. Thomas Girst. I can send a comment and then I can fix it. So when people join.
There's a book of yours in my bookshelf.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah, we can do a reading if there's enough time.
I'm gonna do a reading.
I love that book.
I'm gonna do a reading actually for Blau International magazine because they published a transcript. Let me switch off the comments, otherwise you have like all this text. They have but now the fixation is gone. I'm gonna do a reading actually, I think in the coming days for Blau International because this is an art magazine. They translated a part of my book and I'm gonna try to read out of the book in English. But we're not talking about me now, we're talking about you and the company you work for.
Yeah.
Can I see, are you wearing a tie?
Yeah. Of course.
Because Thomas, you have to know, wherever you meet Thomas, in Hong Kong or LA, wherever, how deep in the night, he's always with a tie. And even in the home office, you're wearing a tie.
But Johan, I have to tell you one thing. It's, somebody much smarter than me once said, only the rich have the privilege of dressing down. So this is me dressing up because I don't have the privilege of dressing down yet. That's one thing. And I read an interview with Warren Buffett.
Okay.
A little bit further down, Johan, we want to see everything now. No, but I read an interview with Warren Buffett a year ago, and he said, look, I always wear the most exclusive suits, but they always look cheap on me. Now, I'm the lucky one that cheap suits look always exclusive on me. So just let me go along with my shtick, please.
No, absolutely, but I'm just impressed. And also if you do gardening stuff and so, always a tie.
Well, I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I will tell her one day that if she meets a man who's not able to tie a double Windsor knot, forget it. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm out.
That's what separates the men from the boys. I would be out.
Okay. Anyway, to the topic.
Yes.
BMW has a big involvement in the arts. You started this art car, but you also have this initiative where you give a grant to an artist to travel the world. I think, right? Mm-hmm. And the Fließband, the industrial fabrication of cars, it's at a
conveyor belt.
Yeah, it's stopped now, right? There's no, but the culture goes on. Like, what are you? How are you dealing with it?
Well, if you ask me about the company, our CEO has made it very clear just 2 days ago in an interview, that of course, it's 130,000 employees worldwide. So the top and foremost priority is the health of those employees. Yeah. So they stay at home, they work from home. There's arrangement with the German government in terms of short-term work and all of that. They get paid 93% of their usual salary. People are asked to take some vacation time and so on, but it has worked during the last crisis very well, and the health, of course, is top. But if the dealerships stop retailing, there's no cash flow coming in. So most of the production certainly has come to a standstill. In China, the large-scale production is already ramping up again. So we're not in hibernation. When I talk of the company as a whole, we're not in hibernation. Watching this very closely because you also don't want to miss a moment when you can ramp up production again. So that is
one quick thing. Why do you think there's this constant comparison with this crisis and the other one? Because like the one we had 2008, because I don't see that there's much comparison possible, because I find, especially like, for example, in the art market, we have a lot of liquidity and the money is there, but there is no movement. So and there's not a bubble, and the people can't just go out, and there's no.
I think it's just common sense. It's because that is something that we remember from 10 years ago. That was the last big crash, completely different from a worldwide and global pandemic. And we're the privileged ones to be able to be talking to each other, whereas others are working at the forefronts and so forth. And I don't have anybody who's fallen ill or of course always a little scared, but at the same time I'm very much aware of that privilege. I think it's common sense because people, they don't have anything to compare this with, so they look at the everything going downhill 10 years ago. At the same time, it's a very different situation as if you were to lose, let's say, car sales to your competitor. But now with everybody, it's a standstill. Yeah.
Yeah, global. I mean, even the banking crisis or finance crisis was not that global. For example, China, I don't think it was hit that in that capacity. Like now, next week we're going to speak to a collector from India. We're going to speak to people from China, from all over the world, and everybody's stuck. Everybody's like,
so the India
homebound,
the India Art Fair was because we've been partnering with them for a long time. Then Art Basel was part of it. Then they pulled out again. But we continued our partnership with the India Art Fair in Delhi. That was the last art fair that I went to. And of course, we were looking forward to the Kochi Muziris biennial. That is something that we've been involved with from the very beginning. You know, in southwestern India and Kerala. Because I noticed one thing that your question about the art journey, I think I want to pick up on that, is that when we get involved as a company and we never mess with content, you know, that is not our role. That is what curators are for. That is what museum directors are for. That is what the juries are for, that pick artists to create a BMW Art Car or to go on an art journey. We are never part of that. And I think that is essential to have that. I mean, other companies are different, but we want to be transparent and open in the process as well. But with the Kochi Muziris biennial, for example, when they pulled it out of the hat 10 years ago, it was completely uncharted territory. So I knew it wasn't only the monetary component of us becoming partners of them, but it was also that they could delve into our know-how, being partners of biennials around the world, and also delving into our network. And at the same time, with us being partners, it was a lot easier for them to get other partners, because BMW, I would assume, has become somewhat of a sign of quality and also of longevity, because that's how we roll. We never jump from event to event. And with the art journey, because you asked about that, that is something where we send artists, you know, well, I mean, you talked about art fairs, and of course, you know, this is for the affluent. Yeah, it is for you to make a business. It's for artists to earn their money. Those are social platforms. They will not go away. You see that now with the virtual viewing rooms and everybody, you know, sending out as frantically as they possibly can everything that they can show, is that art fairs are also there for people to meet each other, to talk to each other. And I think that will certainly remain, and that will, you know, that will continue after this is over.
Maybe it will change, you know, I at least
less, hopefully.
Yeah, or it would maybe on a more focused summits, you know, more of a real like global conferences type of I don't know, like Davos or something. Because I think that the meeting each other is not in the center enough. Hopefully, it will become more of a personal exchange than dragging all the stuff around the globe for a short period of time to then, I don't know, in most cases sell it back to your homegrown clients.
Well, I think, you know, why are we partnering as a premium car manufacturer with art fairs? I mean, it's clear, you know, the potential clients are there, the customers are there. We provide driving experience, yet at the same time, we don't want to just be the shuttle service. And this is why we came up with the BMW Art Journey. What I'm trying to say is that basically what you just said as well is that us as a car company, we don't have any vested interest in the art market, which is a $60 billion, or used to be a $60 billion business. We don't have any vested interest in that. We don't entertain.
Which is, I guess, your sales in Hungary of BMWs, no?
What is
I mean, how it's not a big industry if you compare to other industries.
No, look. Ours, BMW alone, has a turnover of $100 billion a year, which is like twice the size of the global art market. You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah,
so if you look at it from that perspective, it's not that much. But at the same time, we know it and we love it. But we have to separate the art market from what the art world is. And unfortunately, there has been such a big overlap. And me as an art historian also, and the way that BMW has been engaged in the arts is, I don't want to end up on the bling bling side of things, but actually where you can create meaning. We could throw money at any artist, you know, create the biggest art prize, and here's another $100,000. I'm not saying that artists don't need budget. Of course they do. But at the same time, how can we create something meaningful? And this is how we came up with the art journey, because every artist has a dream journey in their head, whether they don't have the money for it, or they don't have the time. We try to provide them with both of those coordinates. And the first one who went on this journey was Samson Young, who's now, known the world over, which makes us very proud and happy. And if we had anything to do with that, which I would be too modest to admit, then I will still be proud about that.
So, but how does it work? The artist has to apply, or you pick them from a exhibitor because it's related to Art Basel Hong Kong, right?
Yeah, it's related to Art Basel Hong Kong. There, it's the discovery sector or galleries that have been around for 10 years. So their artists are all eligible, and they have to basically...
So, but wait, first you have to be picked from a gallery, and then the gallery comes with this artist in a solo booth or in a group booth to the fair.
It used, until a year ago, we only admitted those artists that were shown at the discovery sector. Which is
discovery is always
25
3 artists.
Galleries. They have to show 1 artist each at the gallery.
So it's solo booth by artists, by galleries in that sector.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like statements, they always have all these millions of names for these sections. Okay.
Or maybe they show 1 or 2 artists or so. I'm not 100% sure. But we wanted to do something for younger artists. We were not that established galleries. We opened it up a little to open it up for galleries that have been around for 10 years, but maybe also be showing on the main floor.
Okay, so and then the jury goes around.
Right. You have a jury that is, Phil Tinari, who's director of the UCCA. You have Claire Zhu, who is director of the Asia Art Archives. You have now Samson Young is in the jury.
Oh, then another artist also. Okay.
Another artist, which I thought was important. And Matthias Mühling is in there, the director of the Lehnbach House. Yeah. So okay, and then you pick the art. But how do you know the artist wants to go on a journey? Well, they opted in. They said first that they wanted to go on that journey. And then we look at their work that they presented. And then we have a short list, which we will be able to announce next week. It's a great thing that this initiative between Art Basel and BMW is basically the one great thing that came out of Hong Kong, unfortunately, and the online viewing rooms, that we nevertheless, with the video conference and everything, looked at all these artists that applied.
Online.
Online. We just had like everybody else, a Zoom conference earlier this week. And we'll have a short list of 3, and then they have to make a recommendation about who it is.
No, I said a Zoom conference with a tie on.
Of course with a tie on.
Did you see this video where this one guy stands up and it's like naked?
Yeah, sometimes. No.
He forgot that he's camera. No.
It's all there.
No, I just mean all these, that's a positive side that... I got all these hilarious videos. Anyway, I interrupted you. So, and then you picked the show goes on. You continue the journey.
And then those artists have to come up with a short list. Have to come up with an idea for a journey, and then based on those journeys, the jury will then look again at those proposals, and then they will check who will be the artist that will make the art journey.
And the journey is not like you have let's say the journey goes to a region where you have special market interest in. That's not happening.
Yes, 100%. You hit the nail on the head there. No, no, that would be frivolous. No, the thing is this: what they cannot do is they cannot say I want to go to Mars, or they cannot go on a spaceship, or they cannot go, let's say, on a submarine travel is not allowed.
Another question, which really interests me seriously, is I make nothing. I can't drive because of my eyes, but also I think even if I could drive, I don't make much of cars, and I have the feeling a lot of my generational pairs, friends, and so on. Like I remember the status symbol, which I kind of looked up to. My uncle was driving a different brand though. How do you convince the new millennial generation of still feeling the need of buying luxury cars?
Yeah. Well, first of all, maybe if you allow me a little detail, if I continue to speak in car metaphors, it's like when I hadn't been working when I was in New York as an art historian and I hadn't been working for BMW, I just always thought that I didn't like the BMW Art Cars because I thought it was such a funny way to introduce the brand into the art world, and not because of the corporate brainwash, but not because I'm responsible for those series now. I noticed something that I'd never noticed before, and that is really a huge infatuation with artists and the theme of mobility. I'm not saying BMW, but if you look at the Futurist Manifesto of 1909, the car was hailed as the sculpture of modernity. Not only its look and design, but also its smell and its motion, its its acceleration and so forth. So there is a big fascination, you know, from Matthew Barney to Richard Prince to many artists around the world that just love cars. When it comes to individual mobility and, like, let's say your peers or your colleagues and so forth, I think now individual mobility, nobody wants to ride in a subway. Nobody wants to be on a bus. Nobody wants to be on a plane at the moment. It is a safe haven in a way, you know. And I think that, you know, BMW is leading the way also when it comes to electrification and other things. So I believe that the car will continue to play.
Also, you really share
to play a big role.
The shared mobility is also a big part of your activities, no?
Say it again?
The shared, that you have shared cars, how you call it, free now, and how's it called?
Yes, of course. But you have to consider, there always has to be a business case behind this. We're not doing this for, you know, just like it would be negligent to say that even our arts engagement would have to do with philanthropy or altruism or all these things. You know, it's about the image and it's about the reputation of the company. You know, we don't mess with content. We never tell any artist what to do or what not to do.
What I would like to show here quickly is a which actually, no kidding, this is Julie's, one of the directors' table. Yeah. And I told them, scan this guide. It's an art guide of independent collectors, and it's the fourth one. Yeah. And it has, you know, and I have to say, like, make sure that we have all these clients in our database, and probably, let's see what's marked here. One is marked. And
I'm holding the second edition in my hand. We are on the 5th edition now.
And we have here, this is not planned, it's Arte Lavo Tetroio. I don't know why we have that.
In Sicily.
Okay, probably they're going to get a letter with some offers. Anyway, so let's go to the questions. But I only can recommend this BMW Art Guide. And this is not paid content here, just so everybody knows.
No, and if you allow me, one thing about this, Johan, is because, you know, Michelin, who's the tire manufacturer, you know, they were the ones, you know, that now they rate restaurants, you know, with Michelin stars and so forth. Yeah. So we thought, I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, we thought there is a void. You know, we don't have, you know, this is just, it's not a coffee table book. It's just a Lonely Planet.
It's really like a small...
If people go and travel, they don't know about the private collections, you know, and they're popping up all over the place. And when we created this book, which is now in its 5th edition, we had no idea we would create so much competition between private collectors who are all eager now to be in the book. And we, of course, are eager to, you know, to showcase them in the book and to really make this a global guide for private collections.
Yeah, but on a high level, you know, it's like, as you say, not a coffee table book. It's really like for people who are really interested in. Yeah, because, you've seen Alicia Quade piece. So at least
we love Alicia Quade.
Yeah.
You know, she was supposed to have a dinner last week that I was invited to. I felt so fortunate here in Munich. But then,
you mean the dinner we were supposed to host? Yeah. Okay. It's for the Bavaria, but at least this you can visit. She did a sculpture of the goddess Bavaria, but she took away all the symbols of power, and it's standing on the Isar, so people can go and visit it. That's something great also about outdoor sculpture now, so you can go and see it.
Johan, when you had invited me to one of your infamous dinners at your church in Kreuzberg, I was seated, and I don't think it was a coincidence, but it was because of your generosity. I was seated right next to Alicia Quade, somebody who I had actually admired for a long time, because I think in terms of hit and miss, the works that I see at your gallery around the world at fairs, and when I've been following her career, I thought it was exceptional in terms of her creation of amazing artwork. So
I'm blushing.
A very good conversation. As you said, it's about the one-on-one.
I think it's time that BMW becomes advertising client of our magazine.
I know.
So, but here, Thomas, there's some questions here. It says, can we see his favorite artwork at home? We see his favorite book behind him?
No, but I would have to go. You know, my kids are jumping around in the house, and
we do this next time.
My wife.
Then we say, have you ever considered reaching out to artists only, or does it require that galleries show them first?
No, not at all. Hold on one second. I'm getting my favorite artwork.
Yeah, how can I?
So the one thing is this. I don't, you know, you know, André Breton was the founder of Surrealism, right? So in 1924, he wrote the Surrealist Manifesto based on a word that was invented by Guillaume Apollinaire. He was living at the Rue Fontaine for 50 years of his life. He never accepted any prizes. He died in the 60s. And, you know, in the 30s, he traveled to, he was, of course, also a socialist. And he wrote together with what was the communist, Trotsky. Trotsky got killed by other communists, you know, with a nail in his head in Mexico City. So Trotsky got killed, but André Breton traveled to Mexico with Frida Kahlo was there, and of course Diego Rivera, and he wrote a manifesto about free arts within a communist system, which is an amazing manifesto from the 1930s. And then he went back again, and he brought some figurines with him. And in 2003, when I started my job at BMW, they auctioned off everything that he had compiled in his house for 50 years. You know, it was left intact, but then his family had to sell it one by one. I was writing back then, and I had written 3 major articles for German papers, for American papers. I said, j'accuse the French government, you know, like Émile Zola, going against the selling of everything of André Breton. But I then, after having written 3 articles, I went there, and I bought this little figurine, which is Mexican folk art, which is something that André Breton picked up while he was with Diego Rivera, Trotsky, and what's the woman's name?
And you sure about the provenance? You can saw how do you have that source that this is accurate?
No, and then Camille Cohen. So you know what? You could go to Paris. There were 6,000, 7,000 lots being sold. André Breton, this was on his desk his entire life after 1930 when he came back. Yeah, and 300 euros. And I feel like I'm not deserving this, but now it's in my bookshelf.
Okay,
you know?
Nice.
So
okay, and the question why you...
this is the auction catalog here. So it's in there.
Yeah, no, we believe you. So have you... That's very nice. That's nice. I couldn't really name my favorite artwork. Have you ever considered reaching out to artists only, or does it require that Galerie shows them first in Hong Kong? I guess the question continues.
I think for the art journey, it's great that it's a 2-tier, 3-tier process. You know, the gallery first has to decide on that artist. The artist has to decide to opt in. But we have worked with, you know, as I said, we don't have an art collection, but we have 30 plants around the world, and we always work with the local academies. Like we buy works from students to be shown in the plants and to be shown in our buildings. That's the art collection we have. We don't have any, you know, major works hanging around except for 3 major Gerhard Richter paintings in the lobby, which he created in the 70s for our headquarters. So yes, we engage with artists that are still at the academy in all of everywhere where we have plants.
Cool. So, yeah, there are a lot of carve questions. That's interesting, such popular. Will BMW still make stick shift cars in the next week? I tried to talk about like art and culture here.
I know. I'm so sorry. The thing is this, I'm a spokesperson, you know, for BMW for culture. Like there is a spokesperson for stick shift cars. If I mess something up in my answer now, this guy will kill me when we're all back at the job. Yeah, exactly. So I would say yes, of course.
No, but I would assume no. I mean, isn't everything going electric? So Thomas, I'm currently working on a BMW Art Car. I mean, are you taking, we don't take unsolicited, no, we neither. Okay,
no, but
super.
It's great. Everybody can create their car. You know, when Jeff Koons created his BMW Art Car and we had the world premiere at the Centre Pompidou, there was a woman getting up at the very end saying, Jeff Koons, can you paint my car? And he said, you know, the great thing about the Art Car project is that everybody can paint their own car. So I don't get to decide. As I said, you know, it's an independent jury that picks the artist and not me. We're not part of that jury. So while I love for you to work on a BMW Art Car, I would love for you to continue, I couldn't endorse it as an official BMW Art Car.
And tell me, when it's not in a frequent, you know, it's not every 2 years. It's unregulary.
I think that's part of why this is a great, trustworthy, authentic sort of series, because we don't churn out an art car every year. Between Jenny Holzers and Olafur Eliassons, there were 9 years. You know, between John Baldassaris and Chauffe's and Jeff Koons's, there were 7 years. Like, it's not a marketing tool only. It's really about...
Okay, so we don't know when the next one is coming.
2021, hopefully. Let's see.
Hopefully.
No, 2023.
Okay.
But I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Okay, good. You didn't. Thank you very much. I hope to see you soon in real life. And tomorrow, 10 a.m., we have Anselm Reile showing us his unbelievable vast studio here on the Spree River. And if you have suggestions for me who to talk to,
oh yeah,
who, like, for example, you name one.
So, I guess no other people at BMW, but what about Neo Haug or Martin Eder or other artists from other
Martin
galleries?
Eder we had already. We had Martin Eder walk through. That's hilarious. You can see that on YouTube. He walked through the Tokyo show, but he left it open if it was Billie Eilish or not.
Oh wow.
Okay. Have a nice weekend. Thank you so much for joining the show, and stay healthy and wash your hands.
Thank you, Johan. You too. Thank you.
Bye. Okay. Thank you very much.